Hey, good afternoon. This is Dallas. I'll be going over today. Somebody asked how they can hook up a database using a shared app, or Xamarin app rather, portable. So I'm going to go over it with you. It took me a little bit to figure it out. You can't just explicitly just hook it up and everything sort of work within each app. So I'm going to walk you through it best way we can. We'll go over that. Throughout the exercise, I'll be using code snippets, something that, because I've already done most of the work, I don't really want to type out everything. Anyways, we'll go through it. I'm going to be using Visual Studio 2017. I'm not sure exactly how things will change depending on if you're using 2015. I don't know for certain. So if something doesn't work, you'll have to sort of critique it a little bit. Also, we'll be using .NET Core's Entity framework, which is the newest one. So the process should be similar if you're going to use an older version of Entity framework, but we're just not going to do that in this case. So we're going to start off as a new project. New project. Alright, I'm going to search for it, but you need portable. You need a portable app. So we're going to run portable. Here we're going to call this we'll call it working. Let's name it something simple. We'll call it the cat app. And then since we're going to be building the core part of the application, we're going to use .core for the naming convention. For solution name, take off .core and just use cat app. Alright, go ahead and add. It should ask you what do you want to use. We're going to use Entity Framework 4 and 1.0. You can add all these if you want. You don't have to, but if you're going to build, that kind of app, you could select everything or just an Android app or whatever. I'm just going to leave it as the original, just standard stock. Go ahead and create the app there. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to need to use NetStandard, which is sort of like all of the .NET stuff combined. It's sort of like an portable thing. You could research it on your own. I don't really know the whole details why you use it, but you need to use it. So drop down and go to your properties for your solution. Not solution, project. So go to your core application that's portable, properties, and right here it says target.NET platform standard. Go ahead and change that, and we want to use the .NET standard platform. And that should be okay. Also, you're going to need to at least use the standard 1.3. So we'll go ahead and do that. You need at least 3 because you use SQLite, which we're going to be using. You're going to need that. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my dependencies. So to do that, there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can go over here to, for instance, references, and right click and click manage NuGet packages. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to browse, and I'm going to search for Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and install the newest version of Entity Framework Core. You have to click accept, and that will give me that one. Alright, so the next one we want to use is Microsoft Entity Framework SQLite. SQLite. So we'll go there, search for it. Alright, I'll go ahead and install that bad boy. Alright, so once that's installed, we can start building our DB context using our Entity framework stuff. So for this, I'm going to call this cat, and here we're going to use Microsoft.Entity Framework Core, and we're going to make this from DB. Nope, nothing. Forgot we're not doing the context yet. So like I said, I have some code snippets. Okay. So if you haven't used Entity Framework before, this might look super new to you. I'm not going to be going over. Let me use this one. I'm not going to be going over everything about Entity Framework. Just know that we're using it. To briefly run down, this would be your database. So for instance, if you're in SQL, you would have a column that is cat ID, name, and meows per second. And this is the same thing for each cat that we'll have. We're going to have an ID, a name, and a meows per second. The next thing, part of Entity Framework, is we need a DB context, which basically creates the database. And this is a code first approach, so we're going to be building the database so the database is going to be stored inside the application. So once it's ran, it'll generate the code, create the database if it's not there, and it'll be stored in the emulator. So the emulator is of course going to delete the database or recreate it each time, because once you end the emulator, it's over. If you have a real live device, you're more than welcome to try it out. So we're going to call this cat context. Cat context, we're going to use Entity Framework Core. We're going to use .sq. When I get installed, let's do a build. Let's make sure I got it in there. Yeah, it's in there. So we'll just do a build solution. Sometimes you gotta build so it can sort of grab and see everything. Alright. Microsoft.entityframework.sq. Why isn't it doing that? Okay. Oh, never mind. You don't need it. Okay. So this is going to derive from DB context. Okay, so if you have your Entity Framework code, we're going to be doing to this. Boosh. Alright, it's pretty simple. Alright, so we have get our public DB set. That's just basically we're getting cats. And that's what's in our database is cats. We have a private variable database path, which we'll get. Our public cat context, you don't need anything for that. Alright, so for our cat context, we're going to pass it the database path. So what we're doing here is once the app starts, it's going to call this onConfiguring method, and it's going to find where it's going to place the database path. So the file name and then the database path will be in, for Android, it'll be in, I think it's data. It'll be in the data folder. So if you have a way of looking at it, I don't, but if you have there's programs out there that will allow you to look at the file system of the emulator, and you can go through it and find where your database is going to be. This is just our connection. So So SQLite is, or SQLite is very simple in the fact that it doesn't, it's a local database, so it's pretty simple. Okay. So once we get all that created, you can, let me build this, build the solution there. Okay, so everything's good. We're going to add. Now, you can add sort of whatever you want. I'm just going to go with the Android in this case. And I'm going to just do a single view application. And I'm going to call this cat app.droid. So we'll let it create the application there. Boom, got our little app. Okay. So the first thing that you have to do is you need to install the same NuGet packages. So go here, manage NuGet packages, browse. We'll do Entitiy Framework Core. I'm going to install it. Alright. This one takes a little bit because it's got to grab more stuff. Okay. And you'll also need SQLite in there. We'll go ahead and install that one too. And then the other thing you'll need is you're going to need to reference the core application. Okay, accept it. Just let it install. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, cool. Alright, so right click on references, click on add a reference, click on our get app cat app core, click OK, and it should be in there now. Alright. So our main thing here, and we'll do a using statement. We're going to be using cat app core. There we go. Alright, and we'll also use Microsoft Entity Framework. There we go. Okay. I'll sort of show you what this does. So in our main CS, so public class main activity, blah 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 blah. Oh, too far. Alright. Boom. Okay. I think we gotta use generics here. Yep. Let everything sort of load, catch up. And then we have to fix our text view because it doesn't know what that is. So your layout's going to be in your layout. So resources, layout, and then your main. Let's open this. Sometimes you have to double click on it and it takes a while to load because it's got to load the designer if you're using the designer. For this tutorial, we're not going to use the designer, but we'll let it load. Okay. Source here. Alright, so we're going to add a text view, which is pretty simple. Now, sometimes it does freaky shit. So we'll see if it works. Yep, looks good. Okay. Sometimes it says Android's not a thing. I'm like, you just keep retyping it eventually, or at least build it, and then it should work fine. Good. Alright, so once we save this, we can come back over to our main activity. So why is path not working? I need path. Fix our using statements. No. New cat context. Yeah, cat core's there. So why? Hold on, let me figure this out. Alright, so I think I figured it out. And because I tried to build, make sure this is public so it can access it. Now if I save and I come down here to main, see that should go away. So now I can access it and create new cats. So I'll just briefly go over what this does. We're going to go out there and look for our text view, create it. We're going to get one. Our file name is going to be catsdb. The full path is the DB folder in the file name. Our file name is this. Our folder name is going to be basically whatever the operating system wants to put it. Here we're going to create 3 new cats. So we're going to create 3 cats. We're going to put them in a big list called Cats in the Hat. And the list of cats that we have are Gary, Jack, and Luna. So what we're doing here is we're going to say, hey, if the DB cats, we're going to count what's in there. And if it's less than 3, then we're going to go ahead and add Cats in the Hat, our list of cats, and then we're going to save changes. And what this does is the save changes async is going to save the changes and wait. So then here the var cats in the bag is going to await. It's going to go out to the database cats, and it's going to everything that's in our cats database, we're going to put it into a list. And then we're looping over that list. And we're saying for each cat in this list of stuff that we got from the database, as you can see, we got it from the database, so we're not using this. We created this, saved it to the database, and now we're going to pull it back out. And we're saying, you know, this is some the code that you'll have to use. I haven't worked with Xamarin a lot. Again, this was a video because someone had asked me how to do it. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's sort of the same, but iOS might have a different. They might not be called text views. It could be something else. But that's where we're placing them. And this plus equals saying, go ahead and add this, and then make a new line. So we're going to add the cat ID, 1, 2, or 3. Then we're going to add the cat name. We're also going to add the meows per second, and then we're making a new line. This is C#6 syntax. So if you're not familiar with C#6, the old way is you would have had to, you know, do the plus equals. So we'll do a text view, right, dot text here, and then plus equals, and then you'd have to do this, and then put your variable in there, right, variable 0, and then at the end of this thing, you'd put cat, and then cat ID. Something like that. I don't remember because I haven't used it in a long time, but if that's normally the way you had to do it, C#6 allows you to it allows you to do it this way. So you can just insert them in there, or even if you're using really old syntax, then you would have to just do the, the cat ID, and then do the blah blah blah, and then do another plus, and then add your cat name, etc. But that's just a new way to do it. I mean, C#6 has been around for a few years, so most people should be using it this way anyway. And if there's any type of an exception, because we're going to try this, so this is, if we can't do this for whatever reason, we're just going to write to the console, hey, this is what happened. Okay. So the next step here is, if you go to run this, it's not going to work. And that's because we don't have any migrations set up. And migrations is, for Entity Framework, migrations is what puts the data actually into the database. You can sort of refer them, they're like snapshots, and I'll show you exactly what you got to do. Now, for like an MVC web application, you wouldn't have to do what I'm about to show you. You could simply just use it out of the box, and it works great. For these types of apps, it's not really going to work, so we'll do basically like a workaround, build our own little project out of here. So we're going to add a new project, and we're going to do a .NET Core application and a console application. And I'm going to call this catapp.migrations bait, and we'll click OK. It's going to create that application for us. Okay, so you're not going to have to do a whole lot. Just let that go ahead and restore its packages. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to I'm going to open up a new PowerShell, and within my .NET Core application, and I have no idea why PowerShell opens this big. Alright, so something like this, and we'll do clear just to fix that. Alright, so I'm going to do a .NET restore. Alright, so you're going to need a few things, and also a fix. So we're going to do .NET add package Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Go ahead and add that in there. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to add the SQLite in there. The other thing that we need is design. We need tools. And we need tools, and then .NET. That will allow us to use our tools. Now if I do this and I'm going to do a .NET restore, so I'll make sure that all my packages are restored, everything should be good. If I do a .NET EF, it says no executable found matching the command .NET EF. For whatever reason in Visual Studio, it doesn't show that file. So I need to edit this file. So I'm going to open it up in another text editor. I don't know why it doesn't show in Visual Studio, but you have to open that up. Okay, and what I found is you need this. So if you're using Visual Studio 17 with the new CS Proj files, you'll need to add this into the XML. So after property group, you'll need to add that in there. And you can just save it, close it. Now, .NET restore, then .NET EF. And now we have our Entity Framework commands. So we're going to do a .NET. Alright, so before we can add our migrations, we have to give it a context, sort of what we want it to do. Now the only time that you'll have to do this is when you're making changes to your database. So if you build out the database first the way that you want it, then you only have to do this like once. Alright, so I'm going to take my context and let's rename this to cat.cs. Doesn't really matter because Alright, so we'll do this and this. We're going to copy this and we're going to paste it down here. Boom. Alright, so we're going to do a .NET build. Just make sure everything's good. Oh Jesus. Okie dokie. Where's our dependencies? I think I don't know why I didn't add it last time. Yeah, so I guess maybe I typed it wrong. I guess I wasn't looking. Alright, so now we need to do Entity Framework.SQLite. Okay, and then we need to do design. And then we need also tools. And then tools.net. Okay. So .NET restore. And then .NET build. That should build. Yeah. So after this, we're going to do .NET EF. So now we're going to set up the first migrations. So .NET EF, add migrations, and knit. Hold on, I'm going to look up the command. Alright, so the actual command is .EF, migrations, add, and knit. Alright, cool. So now let me show you what that does. So in our migrations folder, we'll have the initial building designer. So this is just this is it building the database out for us. And that's all it does. But you'll see that you'll keep in there, so if you name it something else, it'll just keep on adding. So you can see that it's building the columns out, and it's doing our SQL stuff for us. Of course, isn't like SQL, but this is it building what we need out. You can see it's giving us the primary key as the ID there. You see it building this the cat ID column, the meows per second column. So it's doing all that stuff for us. So what we have to do is we have to take this migration and we're going to copy it. Boom. We're going to move it up here to our core application. We're going to paste it in there. So that's how you get your migrations into your core application. Because it doesn't have an easier way to do that. So that's like a workaround. If somebody knows like a better way to do that, by all means let me know, because I would love for that to work out where you don't have to actually do it down here, or make a console application just to handle migrations. Alright, so once you have migrations, is there anything else I'm missing? Don't believe so. So what you'll do is make sure that you're over here and you're going to select your Android app, for instance. And I have a custom emulator, and I'm going to run it. But it takes it a second, so you'll have to give me some time. We'll see how fast it is. I might pause the video, because they can take a little bit of a time. But hopefully it loads pretty fast. Alright, I'm going to pause this video because it does just take a really long time. And I'll be right back. Alright, I think it's going to load. Just give it a second to pull up the app. Or it doesn't do anything. But we'll see what it does. It says it's deploying. So down here in the left hand corner it says deploying to custom. Go ahead and pause it again. So it says it started debugging. There it goes. It's loading. The emulator is really slow. Super slow. Okay. Alright, I'll pause while it finishes loading the app. Okay. If you did everything right, you should get the same thing as me. These are our 3 cats that we had. And there you have it. It's not super difficult or anything. If you're posting data, you can do the same thing. Like I said, we created 3 cats, put them in the database, and then pulled them back out. You can also create like a RESTful API and just call it and pass it the data that you want to put it in a data. Like if you had a database in a server somewhere, maybe Azure or something like that, you could definitely create an API too, or you could do it this way. Basically whatever kind of database you want. But I think for most applications, this might, at least when you're learning how to do it, this might be an ideal method to use. I will be, cause I'm new to Xamarin and all this, so I will be doing some research and maybe I'll find a different way to do it. But this is the way that I found that probably works best for most people, for most situations, if you're trying to use the SQLite. So hopefully you find this video helpful. Don't forget to click like and subscribe.